And welcome to the show. Coming up this week, Star Wars Galaxy's Edge opens in California, and we're going to discuss what that might mean, what that might tell us about when it opens here in August. Disney is being sued over a bird attack, and the live-action remake of Aladdin is doing great at the box office, even if it's not doing so great with the critics. Plus, we're going to talk about what impact Galaxy's Edge might have on Universal Orlando. All that coming up next. From the Bob Varley studio in Orlando, Florida, this is the Diz Unplugged. This is the Diz Unplugged, episode 1036 for the week of June 4th, 2019. The Diz Unplugged is brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel, experts at helping you plan the perfect Disney vacation. Visit them on the web at www.dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. And by Disboards.com. Join the more than 1 million fans who plan their Disney vacations on Disboards.com. You'll find information and strategies on every aspect of your Disney vacation. Head over to disboards.com and join in the conversation. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show, coming to you live from the Bob Varley studio in Orlando, Florida. I'm your host, Pete Werner, joined at the table this week by my good friend, Steve Porter.
Hello.
Teresa Eccles.
Hey.
Kathy Whirling.
Hi, everybody.
Julie Martin.
Hi.
And back in the production nook, our associate producer, Mr. Rhino Clavin.
Hello.
And our producer, Mr. Craig Williams.
Hi.
Welcome, folks. Hope you are having a good week so far. I know that at least three of the people in this studio right now are exhausted because they just got back from California late last night. Steve, Rhino, Craig, along with Fiasco and Tom Bell, did an amazing job, if you were following along, covering the opening of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge out in Disneyland. So we have a ton of video that has gone up on the Diz YouTube, most of it on the Diz YouTube channel.
No. It started off with this channel because that was a lot of the first content that Disney gave us to release at the embargo date, and since that point, we've now released, I want to say, like maybe 6 different vlogs with dining reviews.
Right. No, I was going to get to that, but
okay. My bad.
But there's a total. But you've put up about 20 videos at least in the last week. So absolutely go over and check that out.
Also, check out the Star Wars pages on Disneyland, on the Hollywood Studios page and the Disneyland page, because they're all now updated with all the new information that we learned. So if there's anything that maybe we didn't address, check those out.
And just to let everybody know, John and Kevin are on vacation, so that's why they're not here this week. They will be back. It's not next week, I believe the week after. They will be, hopefully, joining us, because it's been like a year and a half. Mm-hmm. I hate when they're not here. I mean, I love you guys
it was
to death,
1982 they were here.
I always enjoy it when John and Kevin are on the show. So it is the beginning of the month, so I want to make sure we give a shout out to our sponsor, Magic Candle Company, and our fragrance of the month, our candle of the month this month is Confectionery.
Yeah,
which Steve picked out.
Yeah,
it's like sugar.
It's a good scent. It does remind you of the confectionery. It's a very, I think, one of their more subtle smells. So if you don't like the strong perfumey smells, and the candle, if you're sensitive, I think it's a nice subtle scent.
And I got to tell you, I mentioned this on the Disneyland show, which you'll see tomorrow. But it is a requirement for me to have the air fresheners when I travel. They're not overpowering. The ones that we're putting them in the gift baskets that we send out to our cruise clients, because that worked for me so brilliantly on the cruise. Now, anytime I'm in a hotel, I have some of these with me, and they do such a great job. I've got them in my bathrooms here. I've got them everywhere. They're great in closets. And I think a pack of 4 goes for like $20.
Yeah, something like that.
And of course, you get 15% off when you use code DisneyInfo on anything that they have. So that's MagicCandleCompany.com. I am more addicted to those candles and those fragrances now than I ever have been.
And I also just want to quickly mention they just came out with a new fragrance, Citrus Swirl. So, it's like a vanilla-y.
Vanilla-y?
Vanilla-y.
Millie vanilla.
Millie vanilla-y. Yes.
Those are fake.
So it's like a creamsicle.
Yeah, it's like a creamsicle. Correct.
I think that's the easy
I
way.
like citrus and I like orangey flavors.
So you might like it.
I might
You
like
might like
that
it.
one.
Say 15% off with Disney Info.
Disney Info.
Cool.
Yeah, Disney Info.
Okay, cool. I'll go there and check it out.
And you can also win a 3-month subscription to their specialty box that they send out every month just by signing up for the Diz mailing list. We send out our email blast every day. It's an overview of all the news stories, the latest posts on Diz boards, new articles, all sorts of great stuff goes out every day. I believe 11 a.m. Eastern is when they get sent out. So all you got to do is sign up, and we're drawing one name at random.
Where do we sign up at?
You can sign up on the Diz. You can sign up if you look in the show notes page, DizUnplugged.com. If you're watching on YouTube, there'll be a link right below in the description.
Cool.
So
I'll do that.
you'll do that. Well, you can't because you work for me.
I can sign up for it though, right?
Yeah, you can absolutely sign
Yeah,
up
to
for it.
be
You
the
don't have to
mailer,
win nothing.
sure.
I
I'm
get them.
signed up twice.
Wow. You like the news, huh?
Yeah,
Want to make sure she gets it.
sure.
That's what you've been sending me, so I don't have to. Okay, go ahead.
So, and also, Rhino, you wanted to mention something about Patreon.
Yes, just to let people know out there, patreon.com/disunplugged is where we have all of our different tiers that you can help. You can donate money to help the day-to-day runnings of the podcast. It helps maintain our equipment when we need new stuff that's breaking down, or you have noticed of years of late the quality has increased as such, and in order to do that we do have to invest in some things, and so that helps with that running. But if you're not familiar with it, you can sign up for different tiers. There's you can donate like $1 a month. You could do it a one-time donation, but depending on how much you donate and what tiers you choose to access, you can get videos that we make exclusively for Patreon or early release, stuff like that. There's a lot of fun things to do, and I know there's going to be some fun events tied into that as well for some of our higher tier or longer lifetime tiered Patreons that we'll be discussing at a later date for when we get to our 20th anniversary of Dreams event later this year in August. But I've made some behind the scenes stuff in California that you can look forward to coming out over the next couple of weeks and whatnot.
And since you mentioned the 20th anniversary of Dreams, our events that we're doing the week of
7th to the 11th.
We are almost ready to start releasing the schedule of events. We've got everything pretty much nailed down. I think everybody knows what they're doing. So we will have those going up shortly. I can't tell you exactly when, but in the next couple of weeks, sign-ups for that will be available. I will tell you, I managed to score something that I'm really excited about for my event, but it's going to be very limited in the number of people that can attend. So, and of course, it'll be a fundraiser for Give Kids the World. So I'm very, very, very excited about it. Don't want to say anything yet, but I did just sign a contract. So, very excited. And also, I need to give a shout out to Alex Ivkovic, our tech guru, to Corey Martin, and to Will Perry. A Herculean effort was done actually over the last couple of months, but in specific 2 weekends ago with the transition to new software on our discussion boards. This was not, from the end user perspective, this was, we were down for a day, not even. But I will tell you, Corey and Will were working on this transition for about 2 months in terms of, because it's the same company and it's the next, it's a later version of the software, but so much changed that literally 900 custom pieces of code had to be completely rewritten.
Wow.
By Corey in order to get, and I'll tell you something, it went off pretty much without a hitch, and it is this new software is really designed for mobile, and which is about 70% of our traffic is mobile now on the boards. Yeah, it's a lot, and it works awesome on the phone. I really love that uploading a video from your phone, uploading photos from your phone, very, very simple with this new software. So got to give a big shout out to them. They did an enormous amount of work to make this happen, and just wanted to make sure we gave them that recognition. I tell you, I couldn't be prouder of my team over the last couple of weeks. I'm always proud of them, but between what those guys did with the boards, what these guys did with the coverage out in California, everybody just really nailed it. It was awesome. So good job.
Thank you.
So okay, let's anything else in housekeeping before I move on? No one. Okay, all right. So speaking of California, Galaxy's Edge opened on May 30th, was it? 30th. 31st.
Yes.
Last week, and if you want to hear all of the details, we actually are going to have to make it a two-parter because we couldn't get to everything in this week's Disneyland show. So, but we're covering all the details you can hear tomorrow in the Disneyland edition of the Diz Unplugged. And we're going to be continuing that discussion next Wednesday as well. But by all accounts, this was a major success, not just in terms of people's reaction to the land itself, but in how Disneyland handled it.
Yeah.
That it was organized, but they tend to be that way out there. And in large part, I think that's due to the way they handled the reservation system. And I don't think we're going to do that.
Aww.
Yeah, that would make perfect sense if they would do it here. But I don't know how they can do that with the size of the resorts with all the people. It's not going to be as, smooth as it was out at Disneyland.
But something interesting that we talk about in tomorrow's show was that everyone was so afraid of the crowds that the rest of the parks were empty. That Ronnie, you were saying it was like a 10-minute wait from Matterhorn.
Yeah, I'd never seen so few people waiting for it before.
That the park was empty, and I wonder if, because we've talked about this, that the narrative around crowds is so strong, and so many people are turned off by the thought, that I wonder if the same thing's going to happen here.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, so we're going to have more people here because it's a bigger area, more resorts, like you said, Kathy. I can't see the other parks emptying out because I think there's enough people coming that aren't that interested.
I don't think the other parks are going to empty out. I absolutely I'm wondering about Hollywood Studios. Are people just going to stay away?
I don't think they'll go unless they have a reservation.
Do you think they're going to do reservations out here, though?
That's a good point. I think if they go to Hollywood Studios, let's say there's no reservation, I don't think you go to Hollywood Studios unless you're specifically going for that. It's different than Disneyland because Disneyland is so much. It's Disneyland Park, so it's so much more than just that one area. But at Hollywood Studios, for the narrative there is that that one area is the park. Versus it's an inversion at Disneyland, I guess.
The one thing that I think might be a big difference between Disneyland and World with Galaxy's Edge is that I'm thinking that the amount of Disneyland people that are in the know there and were probably aware of Galaxy's Edge, even how much of a rush they thought it was going to be, that those Disney expert type people were like, oh no way I'm going there with Galaxy's Edge.
Could
where
be.
Here there's it's so much more tourists, that there might be people that come to Galaxy's Edge and they're like, "Oh, Star Wars is opening."
I agree. I agree with that. I think I think the average Disneyland visitor is probably more educated on what's going on because 80% of them are locals. Versus, here where it's 80% tourists.
So those people that know what's going on might have said, well, if I don't have a reservation, I'm not going. I think here, there's just people that are planning their vacations and they're, I mean, to some degree,
stumble upon it and go, oh, what's this?
Oh, is this open? What's
this
Yeah.
fresh stuff?
I think there will be some. I don't think there'll be a lot of it, but I think there's going to be a measurable percentage of people.
Because they've been living under a rock.
Well, you got to remember something that, we do this all the time. We do it for a living. We're constantly in touch with it. A good portion of people who go to Disney World don't pay attention to this stuff.
Well, I know the first time we went, years and years and years ago, we did no planning. And we just walked around going, well, can't go in there, can't go in there. It was a letdown because we hadn't planned.
I think the average Disneyland person does put in the more of an effort toward their experience than the average Disney World person, because I think Disneyland, being so many locals, like you said, they are a little more in the know and they know what it takes. So like Max Pass, you set the alarm, you do the new ticket, set an alarm, do a new Fast Pass, set an alarm, do a new Fast Pass. We were there with friends of the Diz there, Ashley Tharp and her family, and I thought Max Pass was so simple, but they're so used to the Disney World way, which is having their 3 Fast Passes and the plan already set, that I had to keep being like, set your alarm. And they're like, oh, this requires a lot more attention than the other app. And I'm like, yeah, but it's way better, and you'll see. And by the end, a couple of Fast Passes in, she was like, yeah, I've never gotten this many Fast Passes before ever at Disney World. But I just noticed the idea of, she made me start thinking about how people here maybe set it and go. You know what I mean? At Disney World, they kind of just let go. And we say that vacation brain thing a lot,
Having said that, what you said at the beginning about they put more thought into it, I don't want you to piss people off because our listeners here are putting thought into it.
Of course.
I didn't
mean that.
He did, though. He said something
It's
like
not
that.
about that they don't put thought in. They're more in touch with what's going on.
Yes, yeah.
Because the locals are, the vast majority of that audience are locals. They're very invested in the park. They go all the time. This is why they have a problem with annual pass holders out there. There's too many of them. So they had to jack the price of annual passes through the roof to discourage it. And then started putting blackout dates on things.
Right.
And so,
Well, I think here they have extra magic hours for the other parks. Well, they have it for studios too, but you have more places you could go if you went into Hollywood Studios and saw that it was busy. If you've got a park hopper ticket, you've got a chance to move to a different
I think
park
what concerns me is that I think they really need to try and find a way to make a reservation system work for the first few months that this is open. The fact that their response to the crowds, the anticipated crowds for Galaxy's Edge at Hollywood Studios, has been extra magic hours. So they're going to open the park at 6 a.m. So I'm like, okay, I guess that may help a little bit, but I still think
I think about it in a way where it's a great benefit if you're staying on property and you want to do that and you want to wake up at 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. on your vacation to go explore a land for 3 hours. The weather will be much better at that time for you, and the land will be a lot less full.
This is opening August 29th. The weather's going to be horrible.
Oh no, I meant
Not at 6 a.m.
No.
I
I meant 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. is probably the best part of the day to be awake and doing something. After that, it's just the devil's lair, whatever. You're screwed. You're in flames. But I do think it definitely has. I was thinking about this while we were walking around the Galaxy's Edge in Disneyland, that if it had not been so controlled and it had just been kind of a free-for-all, a free flow, which they can't necessarily do because there can only be so many people in a place at a time. But it does make me nervous because I was thinking about what happens at the end of Disneyland's reservation system when people can just kind of come in. Apparently in the app, they're going to have to make a day of reservation. So once you're in the park, you'll say like you have to look for your entry time into that area. And so like if it's not super busy, everyone's going to be able to go in there. But I feel like we're going to need something like that, or we just might install a queue basically, and you just
I just have these nightmares of, because even with this reservation system, you're still talking about half hour to an hour wait in line to build a lightsaber, 45-minute waits to get into Ogre's Canteen. And that's with this reservation system in place. What's it? And that's what I'm not hearing coming out of World right now. How are you going to manage these crowds? As soon as they announced what they were doing out in Disneyland, I had a sense that, okay, they've got
They've got a plan.
They've got a plan. And
Well, but
I feel
all
like
the-
ours is going to be a free-for-all.
The eyes of the world were on Disneyland. So Disney's they don't want to disappoint.
Well, the eyes of the world are about to be on Disney World.
So a lot of the managers from here were out there for all of that. So I'm hoping that they took notes and came back and said, well, that plan that we had, that's not going to work. We saw how the queue system worked and reservations worked. And hopefully they'll be smart enough to do like Disneyland did with, the Cantina and different places, that when they saw the lines were building up, that they took people's phone information so they could text them. So I hope Disney World looks at that and says...
Yep. I'm not sure that they have a plan in place yet. I think, as Kathy did say, there were managers from Walt Disney World and Disneyland watching what was happening. I think they're going to now start developing a plan of attack for it, and it could change 5 times in between now and when it opens up. I think one of the things they're going to look at is the average guests, how long they are actually staying in the land. If they're gonna take the time to explore, use the data pad to walk around and check everything out, if they're really wanting to shop around and dine in there, or are they coming in and just going to ride the Millennium Falcon because that's the attraction and then getting out. I think they're going to look at all of that stuff, because I can see a lot of people saying, I want to do the ride, but I don't want to build a $200 lightsaber. We saw it from these openings. Everyone is interested in something different in that land.
They're not.
Really,
It's like when Harry Potter opened up. How long did you wait in line for the wand?
Yep.
And what was the plan there? Did that go smoothly as they thought? I don't remember.
Everything. It's always a learning curve. So I think they're going to take everything and really digest it and try to figure it out. And it is a different audience that comes to Walt Disney World versus Disneyland, so they have to factor that in too. I don't envy the people that have that job right now of trying to figure out. But I seen how Disneyland handled it. I have confidence that Walt Disney World is at least really trying to prep as best as they can. It could fall apart, but I feel like they are trying.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. I'm sure there'll be more on this, but absolutely check out our Disneyland show tomorrow. We got a lot more details on what Galaxy's Edge was like out in California, and I think that's going to inform a lot of the planning that people do when it opens up out here. Also, this morning, we found out that for those who are looking to book their 2020 vacation packages at Walt Disney World, June 18th is going to be the day that those are going to drop. How much do you want? Because we're still waiting on fall 2020 cruises to drop. Normally that happens in May. They can't, right? They really can't do both of these in the same day.
I would put money on that, but
Well, I'm going on vacation, so I know it's all going to happen while I'm gone. I know that for a fact.
So, but June 18th, if you're waiting to book your 2020 vacation package, June 18th, of course, I think we've added that now to the reservation form on Dreams. So if you want to get a request in early, dreamsunlimitedtravel.com, you can go ahead and put 2020 in there now, and this way agents will have it to be able to price it for you as soon as it opens.
2020.
2020.
Future.
Yep. And I'll tell you what, you think this is crazy now with Galaxy's Edge? 2021, 50th anniversary?
yeah.
It's going to be insane.
But I am so incredibly excited.
I'm excited for that. The new cruise ships. There's so much to look forward to the
Yeah.
next coming years.
There's a lot happening.
It's going to keep me out of retirement.
All right, now on to our next news story. A Central Florida woman has filed a lawsuit against Disney after suffering severe brain injuries following an attack by a wild bird at Walt Disney World in 2017. Lawyers for Lisa Dixon are suing for unspecified damages in excess of $15,000, claiming that Disney should know that the birds in the area are a threat to guests. According to the lawsuit, Disney was walking on the dock at Disney's Polynesian Village Resort when a bird dive-bombed her. Dixon's attorney, Thomas Schmidt, says that she suffered a traumatic brain injury and has herniated discs in her neck that will require surgery. Schmidt says that Disney should know of the risks that the birds create and warn guests of the dangers. Schmidt continues that there's a company that's well-versed in safety. It should be Disney.
What kind of bird was it?
It doesn't say.
I'm wondering how big it was.
And you know what?
Look, there are things Disney can't control. I mean,
Right. They
It's
can't
not their
control the
bird.
birds.
It's not their bird.
Their
But you know what?
wildlife.
People that come to Disney want to feed these birds. They hold food up for them. Max got attacked over at Boardwalk. Well, not attacked. He brought it on himself. You hold a donut out in the air. Something's going to swoop
I have
down
a
and get
picture
it.
of that.
You got a picture of it when it happened. I mean, you can't control
well,
it.
we don't know. We have to assume that this woman wasn't doing anything like
Right.
that. She was just walking, and I feel terrible for her. She was injured.
Yes. That's horrible.
But I don't know.
She
There's
said
some acts
some.
of God that Disney can't control.
Well, she said something in one of the reports I read that it was a migratory bird, and that Disney should warn you when birds are migrating to the area. Again, I mean that
Oh,
happens all the
my.
time here.
They're migrating farther south or going up north.
I mean, there's a limit. Look, there's a lot of things I'll hold Disney to account for, but the migratory patterns of birds.
It's hard, yeah.
I mean, again, I don't mean to make
It's
light of
no,
anything that
no,
happened
it's
to this woman.
horrible.
She was injured, and I'm sorry for that. But I really don't see. Look, if she was walking somewhere and a piece of a building fell on her,
Yeah.
okay. But I don't think Disney has evolved to the point where they can control birds.
No, unless they're going to install nets all over their property.
Right.
And that's
And
not going to
yeah.
happen.
That can't happen.
Yeah, I mean,
But she could've
imagine
been-
everyone's sunburned.
Could have
They'd
been
all-
some
like hammocks.
grids. But you can't, it could have been something attracted the bird to her.
But if this
her
bird-
say something had.
Say
Could have been
someone
anything.
had been feeding it, and so it thought, hey, this woman probably has something I want too. So he's like,
Right.
"Meow."
Yeah.
I don't know.
I like that
What?
sound
How's
effect.
that?
Katie got dropped on when she was working the turkey leg stand.
You mean poop?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good luck.
Well, that's different.
Yeah, but I mean,
Then my car is the luckiest car in existence.
right?
you expect, not that you want to have it happen, but you sort of expect that.
Right.
It's like Disney can't warn it. There's only a point up to where it's like, this is the outdoors. Things will happen out here. Have you
Yeah.
never stepped outside of your house before? I mean, I do feel terrible
Right,
that this
I do
did
too.
happen, but it's one of those. It's like what you said. It's wildlife that can't be
You
controlled.
can't control
Yeah.
it. It's like when
It
you
could
walk up
happen
the path
anywhere.
at Animal Kingdom.
Yeah.
The lizards are,
Because birds
Crossing in
fly
front of you.
all over the world.
yeah.
It could
can't
happen
control it.
anywhere.
And there's,
I feel bad.
I
Like
feel
I
bad, but it could happen anywhere.
Must
not
have
just at
knocked her down,
Disney.
though. She had a slip disc and a brain
And it must have
injury.
been a pretty large bird.
Yeah, I mean, to hit with
Migratory.
impact, to hit with enough impact to cause a brain injury, a traumatic
Maybe
brain
a
injury.
Canadian goose.
It might,
Well,
it
those geese are
They're mean.
they're mean.
maybe it was, what are those
and they're
things in your
big.
yard
I
all
was
the
trying to
time?
think of something
Sand
big.
Maybe it was a sand crane. Do they
Well,
fly?
we
They fly very
We can
low.
sit here and spend an hour speculating, but
Just-
nonetheless, I'm
yeah.
sure we'll hear more about.
Don't feed them your popcorn when you're at the park. That's the moral of
Yeah.
this story.
Yeah, I
feed them.
think
Don't
that's.
feed the wildlife.
I think you're pissing into the wind with that because I no matter what, people are always doing it.
Yeah.
And common sense would tell you not to do it,
But
but
they're cute. You're at Disney. you
But
think,
it's also
yeah.
dangerous for
Oh,
them.
I know it is.
it's not good for them at all. It's not good for
Could
them.
kill
at all.
them.
So, all right, now the latest live-action remake in Disney's arsenal, Aladdin.
Oh, Mr. Snarky over there.
What?
Craig.
I'm laughing at the
He
slide
hates
he made.
everything.
I don't hate
Oh,
everything.
I went to go look at the monitor, which no longer
Right, I did
exists.
too.
the monitor is no more. If you'll notice over Steve's shoulder, there used to be a monitor there, and now
Nothing
there
to
isn't.
distract from Steve anymore.
So the live action Aladdin remake opened a week ago this past Friday, bringing in $109 million its opening weekend in North American sales over the extended Memorial Day weekend. While it was not record-breaking, that total put the film in 6th place for Memorial Day debuts. As of Sunday, its domestic total was at $185 million, $449 million worldwide. But its Rotten Tomatoes score is 53%. So not getting, I've been seeing mixed reviews on Facebook. Critical reviews have not been positive at all. The one bright spot, and I haven't seen it yet, the one bright spot seemed to be Will Smith. Will Smith seemed to get a lot of...
He was awesome. I said,
I loved it.
you have, I felt for him because, everybody had him psyched out that he could never replace Robin Williams, and I think he did a great job all by himself. He brought his own thing.
I think the problem with this movie is that we say things like that, replace and whatever, because the movie is such a direct adaptation of the cartoon to the point where you're just like, I got bored 3/4 of the way through because I was like, I literally know every single thing that's about to happen. So for me, it was not successful in that way. I did enjoy Will Smith as the genie. I did enjoy Naomi Scott as Jasmine. I thought the problem with this movie is that it tried to be... people just want to see real versions of the cartoon instead of making it an original retelling of the story or bringing something new to it, where it came off like a cheap... for me, it looked like those type of musicals, and I loved these when I was a kid, but I don't know if you remember like Leslie Ann Warren when she was Cinderella on like the PBS musical, and they used to do that. That's what it reminded me of. I love that musical, but this one for me was like, how do you improve on... they didn't bring anything new to the table of something that I already thought was perfect. But that's a waste of time, I feel like.
For me, to kind of dissect the critical side of it, there's a difference between an entertaining movie and a movie that's made well.
Yeah.
And critics usually look at a movie and want to know that it's made well, and if it's entertaining to boot too, then that's even better. I flat out said that I thought Aladdin was entertaining. There was points where I was laughing, whether because it was just straight funny with some stuff happening, or whether it was just ridiculously stupid, like an oversized Yago flying around trying to attack Aladdin. But at the end of the day, it wasn't made well. It was a mediocre movie in terms of its production values, but it was still entertaining. So I walked out of the theater smiling, saying that was goofy, ridiculous. It was really badly made, but I had fun. So when you look at that, that's why people are giving it high ratings. Not everyone goes at it looking at movies like we do in the past.
No,
For me,
exactly.
I go into a movie to be entertained. I'm not really thinking about how it was made. I'm thinking about...
Exactly.
Did I enjoy that? And if I did, it was a good movie. If I didn't, it wasn't.
Right. I loved
I
it.
think that's the vast majority of people feel
I mean,
that
I
way.
even cried in the magic carpet scene. I haven't cried at like a Disney movie in a while, but just because I
She's a
think they were
rock.
real, like, in the cartoon I didn't cry, but it just really moved me to see these two people like coming together and just singing their hearts out, that song.
yeah, I laughed.
loved the market
You
scene
laughed?
where Aladdin is running from the guards, which I love that scene in the cartoon anyway. I just thought it was really cool to see it live action and to see these people. I don't know. I thought it was awesome.
I think it's funny that the whole movie they're talking about that the kingdom of Agra was going to invade these other people, and I'm like, your kingdom is one street block, and it's the same block shot repeatedly in different ways. It was the weirdest. Like, you just have this one big castle and 6 houses,
And we're in
And
the
they
Middle
made
East.
the genie
but
human. They gave him a love interest, which I thought was
Yeah.
really cute.
Nassim Pedrad was awesome in it. I can at some point I have to start nitpicking the little stuff because that's just me. Like,
Why?
you're in the Middle East and everyone who is invited to this one party seemingly knows the same dance to this Bollywood like
Okay,
dance
that's
movement.
every
Like,
movie.
Yeah.
Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. Oh yeah, they all jump and start dancing. That's called a musical.
He's talking about
Choreography, yeah.
Right.
No, he's talking about the mixture of culture. He's saying they're all doing a Bollywood dance, which is traditionally Indian, versus
Right.
being in the Middle East, which is not. He's saying it's different. It's the Hollywood where every brown person is the same, is what
Yes.
he's talking about.
That
Okay.
was Aladdin.
All right. Are
Now-
they doing live
Now,
action for everything?
Has
Yeah.
Endgame passed?
It's very close
super
right now.
close.
It is within $75 million of overtaking Avatar.
Yeah, that was the other.
Yeah.
That was the other story here. That Endgame is very, very close to overtaking Avatar as as the biggest box office success in history.
You could say we're in the end game.
Oh my lord!
I will say this: the only thing I didn't like about Aladdin was the casting of Jafar. I do not think he was evil enough, because we
Yeah.
watched the cartoon again the next day, and I'm like, this is not enough for
So,
me. I needed
Craig-
Jafar to be more evil.
Craig, did you feel? So you did you feel that the film was reductive in terms of its the racial overtones, or was it downright racist?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't racist.
It's not that being reductive isn't racist.
No, but this movie got some flack when it was being made because word came out that they were in fact using makeup to brown up the cast, and so essentially they're doing what they were calling brown face, and there
It was
Really?
noticeable.
There was a little bit. Naomi Scott is, I believe, of Indian descent. She's definitely, but she was just the pink Power Ranger in the Power Rangers movie, and her skin tone was not that of what it was in this movie. And I'm not, the other movie takes place in whatever, but she's. My thing was it kept changing in the movie. Like she never looked the same twice, and I was like,
just
the makeup was
enjoying
weird.
the movie. I wasn't nitpicking that stuff.
Well, then
but,
there's that.
it's like was I entertained? I was. Everybody in the theater seemed to enjoy it. I also liked that Jasmine had intentions to be the ruler of
Yes.
the country. They
No, they give a little power.
they
power.
added that in there, and I thought, it's okay
Craig.
to break from what the original
No,
movie
but my
was.
complaint is it doesn't break from the original movie barely at all, except for Jasmine's one song and the stupid giant Iago. And other than that, it's beat for beat trying
And
to.
Speechless was one of
emanate.
the worst songs from any Disney movie, and it came out of nowhere. It just literally, I get why they. Jasmine.
All right,
needed
I don't
her
want to go into a whole. I don't
Oh
want to go
my
into a whole
gosh.
review of Aladdin.
down, boys.
We have other things to
Calm down.
talk about, but but it's doing well at the box office. It's probably done well enough for Disney to say, okay, we can keep going ahead with these. Although the question really remains whether they should or not. Of course, Lion King is the next one scheduled to come out.
As long as they do the Aristocats,
I'm
good.
really looking forward to Lion King. So-
Yeah, that looks great.
All right, that is going to do it for the news. We're going to move on to rapid fire, and we'll start with you, Steve.
Okay, Disney announces select Candlelight Processional Narrators for 2019, and that bookings are going to be open on July 3rd. The narrators will be.
I don't want to plan Christmas in July.
Sorry. Whoopi Goldberg will be there from December 6th to the 7th. Pat Sajak from the 16th to the 18th. December 16th to the 18th. Stephen Curtis Chapman, the December 22nd.
When's Whoopi?
The 6th to the 7th.
Oh, she's doing my birthday.
Whoopee. On purpose.
Yeah.
Stephen Curtis Chapman, December 22nd to the 24th. Edward James Olmos.
Who Steve doesn't know who he is. What's wrong
Did
with
you
him?
have to bring that up?
It's okay. I don't know who he is. I
Doesn't
don't
know
care.
everybody.
No shame. No shame in the game.
Wait, let me see that list. Did you say?
He's an amazing actor, is who he is.
Oh, I know he is. Have they announced Lieutenant Dan yet?
No.
No.
Gary
Gary
Sinise.
Sinise.
Gary Sinise.
Go ahead.
So yeah, the dates will run through November 29th to December 30th, and so there you go.
All right, thank you, Steve. Teresa,
Beans. That was good. Okay.
let's go.
Disney Fantasy has announced some new offerings. Exciting news. The two biggest changes will happen in the Walt Disney Theater, which showcases Broadway-style performances on select nights throughout the cruise. Reimagined version of Aladdin, a musical spectacular, will debut with an updated script. Maybe put in some new stuff for you, Rhina.
Maybe.
Revised storylines, new choreography. I know that throws you, Craig. Changes to the musical score, new projections, pyrotechnics, costumes, upgrading, new puppetry, and more. These changes were made under the direction of a team of Broadway top artists. I think that sounds cool.
I think what throws me is this genie's nipples. Do you not see this weird picture of his
I can't
chest?
see it from here.
How they're like enhanced.
They have sprayed tanned him down the chest, around the boobs, down to the thing, and I can't stop staring at it, but it's scary, like it's going to hypnotize me or something.
When they
Okay.
start spinning. Okay,
I
wait,
want
let
my
me finish
genie
here.
anatomically correct.
On October 26th, Frozen, a musical spectacular, will debut on the Disney Fantasy. The show first premiered on The Wonder in 2016. The show centers around Anna and Elsa as they discover the meaning of sisterhood, inner strength, and true love. My sister and I are going to do that on our vacation this summer. Performances of the show will join Aladdin, a musical spectacular, Disney's Believe, which I absolutely love, and on Disney Fantasy Sailings.
Okay.
Is that good?
Yep. Thank you,
End it there? Cool.
Thank you, Teresa. Kathy.
If you're going to Epcot, Rose Walk, which is the sidewalk that goes from like where the butterfly house is, it's sort of like the shortcut to take you over to
Over by Journey into Imagination?
Yeah, and it takes you over to the refreshment port. It's sort of like the shortcut if you're trying to go to Canada. And notice I'm using my hands to show you how to do this. But they're redoing the sidewalk. They're going to make the sidewalk wider.
Good.
Good.
Because if you've ever been on it, it gets a little chummy. So it's going to be closed between now and the start of, what's the
Food
next
and Wine.
festival? Food and Wine, yeah. So it's going to be closed. So you're going to have to go out and go down the middle of, what's that called?
You know, if they just leveled Journey into Imagination, we could just walk right through there.
Why, sure. Yes, we could.
Wow.
I'd just be laying there crying, but that's okay. We could do that.
Walk over the tears of Kathy.
Yes, exactly.
Bury her in
We
the
call it
rubble.
Kathy's Trail of Tears.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Kathy.
You're welcome.
Julie.
Mickey and Minnie's Surprise Party at Sea kicks off this week on Disney Cruise Line, specifically on the Disney Fantasy, only on select cruises. It starts this week and goes through August 31st. It will feature 90th anniversary delights. So, special in-state room surprises, an invitation, and turn-down chocolates. Animated shorts will be playing on deck, and there will be themed treats. That's it.
I need to get back on the fantasy. Need to do a Disney cruise.
Me too. It's been too long.
Well, I did one in January, but
Well, it's been a couple of years.
But we missed Castaway Cay, so it's not like the full.
that's true.
Yeah, see?
That's true. But we did out of Puerto Rico. That was cool, though.
Yeah, that was cool.
All right. Thank you, Julie. Rhino.
Okay, so guess what? New fireworks show this Christmas to debut at Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party. The new show entitled Minnie's Wonderful Christmas Time Fireworks Show will be hosted by the one and only Minnie Mouse and will celebrate the magic of Christmas with medleys of beloved holiday songs from Joy to the World and Deck the Halls to Up on the Housetop and We Wish You a Merry Christmas. The holiday will also have a finale guests won't want to miss. Along with the new show, each of this year's 23 nights of Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party will once again feature performances of Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas Time Parade, A Totally Tomorrowland Christmas, and Mickey's Most Merriest Celebration stage show, Craig's favorite of the year. And during a Frozen Holiday Wish show, stage show, Queen Elsa will magically transform Cinderella's castle with glistening ice. Disney has also announced the return of Jingle Cruise, the familiar Jungle Cruise, which we all know and love, will be have a little dose of holiday magic there. But tickets for Very Merry Christmas Party, Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party, are on sale now.
Yeah. You don't like Minnie Mouse?
No.
Okay. Thank you, Rhino. Craig.
Okay, a new Disney Heroes and Villains costume exhibit will
What
be
is it
coming.
called?
Williams. Craig Williams.
Williams, a new. Listen, I'm running on empty here right now, and I still have one more show to do. The new Disney Heroes and Villains costume exhibit will be coming to the 2019 D23 Expo. It'll be presented by the Walt Disney Archives, and it will include over 70 costumes from 55 years of Disney films and television shows, such as the classic Mary Poppins to the current live-action Aladdin, which we just discussed. So guests will enter through Cinderella's Workshop Gallery, which will have dresses on display from stuff like the 1997 Rodgers and Hammerstein Cinderella to the gown that was worn by Scarlett Johansson during an Annie Leibovitz Disney Dream Portrait series, and beyond that, But it will mainly be divided into 3 parts: Disney Heroes, Disney Villains.
Villains.
Why do I keep doing
Villains.
that?
Yeah, wow.
Villains and spaces between, reserved for anti-heroes who fascinating journeys make them among Disney's
It
most
was on the
complex
fence.
And speaking of
characters.
villains, just remember we have tickets for Thursday night. The first
Oh,
night of the
I
Villains.
did
Ball.
not know that.
The
That's fun.
Williams.
I have tickets for everybody, right? I do. I have tickets for everybody.
We'll sleep it off.
Way to let us know, Steve.
It'll be good. So yeah, if you're going to the 2019 D23 Expo, get a look at all those costumes. So.
How many we get? 8?
8.
Yes, I have 8 tickets. So
Cool beats.
I'm using 2 of them, so that you can fight among the other 6. All right, thank you, Craig. All right, before we wrap up, I wanted to talk about all this talk about Galaxy's Edge now has a lot of people focused on and excited about the opening of Galaxy's Edge here. And as I mentioned earlier, this was done. Let's remember really why they're building Galaxy's Edge in the first place. Because Universal started grabbing real market share away from them when they opened up not just Wizarding World, but then Diagon Alley. It was a 1-2 punch, and Disney had nothing to respond with. So this is, in many regards, Disney's response. Now, I remember back in the days before Harry Potter, when Disney added Expedition Everest to Animal Kingdom, it damn near killed Universal.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That was around the same time they started making the changes to the multi-day tickets, where if you added, an extra day or two that people normally would have gone to Universal, it only cost another $10 or $15 more, as opposed to paying a 1 or 2 day ticket at Universal. And that put Universal in dire straits. And then, of course, Wizarding World comes along and changed the whole equation. It changed the balance of power in a lot of ways in Orlando. So, August 29th, Galaxy's Edge opens here. What kind of impact do we think it's going to have? And I'm specifically looking at my Universal folks in the back. What kind of impact do we think it's going to have? Now, Wizarding World and Diagon Alley have been open for years.
I actually think it's going to help their business because I think now people who are kind of on the fence about even like maybe just being, the people who come every 5 to 10 years or something like that, now they have another reason to come here. Because I do find that a lot of people who like Harry Potter, and this is just a generalization, it's in that realm of nerdery that we all kind of like similar things, and I think it for them could be like, okay, now I have this fully livable Harry Potter thing and now this fully livable Star Wars thing. Now is the time to go.
See, I'm fans of both, but if I'm going to be honest, I like Harry Potter better.
Oh,
Well,
okay. No, and I
mean, just in terms of the films and
Yeah.
how I feel about the films and how I feel watching the films. There's something, even though the last few Harry Potter films were kind of dark, there's something mystical and magical and fun about the Harry Potter films that I don't necessarily, especially from the recent ones, I don't walk away with that feeling. I like Star Wars. I love Star Wars. I was, 13, 14 when the first one came out. I distinctly, it was a great memory sharing that with my dad. We were in Toronto, of all places.
I think Harry Potter has a lore that is a little more easily accessible to get into. I know that they're Star Wars. I'm the same way. Like I remember seeing Star Wars for the first time, and I've always enjoyed Star Wars. I actually saw the Ewok movies first. I didn't even know Star Wars was a thing, and I love those little guys. So, I think that Harry Potter, you have all these books, and the thing that's different is Harry Potter is this boy that we follow, and he grows up. So they are darker, but they matured as Harry matured. So like the first films or books are a lot geared toward, they're younger and they're easier to digest. And then you get to the 6th and 7th one, and they do deal with death and that sort of thing, and love lost and those sort of things. And what I just love that transition thing. But with Star Wars, it's a little more. It's a space opera, It's a little more grandiose sometimes.
So, let me ask this question. You've been to Galaxy's Edge in California.
Yeah.
I'll ask this of the three of you. Obviously, you've all done Wizarding World and Diagon Alley here at Universal. Which is better?
I don't know that I can speak to that yet because I don't know. I think a lot of the Harry Potter area exists. I'm sorry, the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge for me exists in this little pocket universe. It's its own thing. It's its own storyline. And I feel at Universal when I'm at Harry Potter, I am at Hogwarts and I am at these places that are from the films and everything. But it's a little bit different because I'm seeing recognizable iconography from everywhere my eyes touch in Universal, and in Galaxy's Edge it's not the case. It's nothing in there I really look at and go, that's in the movie. When you find those things, they are specifically from movies. That's the Easter eggs in the land. Whereas I feel like in Diagon Alley, everything is the movie.
Yeah. It's tough because even when you look at Diagon Alley, you have to kind of take the Wizarding World of Harry Potter and Universal Orlando as a whole, because technically you can go from being inside Diagon Alley to boarding the train and without ruining any immersion at all. I mean, as soon as you walk through the train station, you can then end up inside of Hogsmeade, and you're right there in this extension to that land. So there really are, even though it is a bit of a cop-out, it really is one complete land linked between this train. And when you start looking at it from that aspect, it's still way smaller than Galaxy's Edge by a mile. But when you start like breaking it down, if you're a fan of attractions, well, we have Smuggler's Run right now. Until Rise of the Resistance opens up, we can't say how great it is, even though everyone's expecting it to be the pinnacle of Disney attractions moving forward. But we know that we have Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey. We have Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure, which is very close to opening now and is going to blow people away from what I'm hearing. And then Escape from Gringotts and the train, the Hogwarts Express in itself, all of those.
Ride too.
So you also have that, plus then Ollivander's thrown in too, which is a fun little experience without necessarily needing you to make a purchase too after it. So depending on what you get out of a land, I feel like that's which one you might end up preferring more. I've spoken to people who are more attraction centric, and they're saying that they prefer Potter based on it in that way. And then I think if you're more on the camp that Rhino's on, and which one that I enjoy too. I love feeling like I'm escaped into a different realm, and Galaxy's Edge does that. So it really depends what you want from the land.
I don't think we've even seen how popular Star Wars is going to be, because even like when Harry Potter first started, nobody knew, like they knew there was going to be a demand. When I think of all the people out there that, once they think the crowds have died down a little bit, they're going to be here for Star Wars. And I don't see anything wrong with being able to go to both.
Right, but I'm just wondering, do we think, you guys are saying no, you think it's going to help?
I think it's going to help because I think it's going to bring in those people who are on the fence.
I think long term that's probably true, but I think in the short term it's going to hurt. I think it is going to draw people away from Universal. I think, I just take a look at history. Every time Disney does something major, it has drawn people away. Do I think that Harry Potter, the Wizarding World, is still strong enough to withstand a full-on assault from Disney? At 7-8 years now, I don't think so. I think a lot of people have done it. I think, not that people won't go, but I think August, September might be a really good time to check it out.
But you know what? Harry Potter to me is, okay, so Max was young when it all started coming out, and his generation. They're going to introduce it to their kids, and they're going to keep the generational thing. They're going to keep coming back.
But
I read an example of that. Sorry, I read an example of literally what you're saying is that it's our generation's Wizard of Oz. And Wizard of Oz is still here 100 years later. So I think that's exactly what's going to happen with Harry Potter.
I think that's what's going to happen with Harry Potter. It's going to be, this came out when I was a kid. You're going to love it. We're going to read all the books, and we're going to go to the land and see it. And then we're going to go to London and see what's there. It's people that are into it. they're going to pass it on.
Well,
I
what's
think you could
interesting-
say the same thing about Star Wars, though, because
Oh, yeah.
now my oldest daughter is coming down, and they're going to Universal for the first couple of days, and then they're coming to Disney. But they want to see both. So I think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to start at Universal and finish up at Disney, or start at Disney. I think it's good for everybody, but I don't think we can
Oh, I
say
agree.
yet.
As fans, I absolutely agree with you that these guys battling it out, we're the ones who win. But I know you've been trying to get a word in. here.
Yeah, but I was gonna say something along the same lines as Kathy. That I think my parents showed me Star Wars. Now the next generation is showing their kids Harry Potter. And I also think that you asked which lands are better to the guys in the back. I think it kind of depends on which movies you really felt like you grew up with and which ones you attached to. So you were saying not necessarily that you grew up with Harry Potter, but that's the one that you gravitate towards. I think it really just depends on which one do you gravitate towards, and then I think that's the one that you're going to like.
I
best.
grew up with the original trilogy of Star Wars.
Yeah.
That's
World,
what
yeah.
I grew up with, and I love them. I'll get you home.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure it was
No,
noticed.
I see you. Not my first week.
Just doing my Bill Nye.
I grew up watching them, and I love them. Don't get me wrong. Emotionally, though, when I watch Harry Potter, I have a much different, reaction. And I think, when I was younger, it might have been different, but now at this stage in my life, that's just
You
this
like
is
that?
how it feels to me.
Yeah, so I can say firsthand from my time at Universal that really the attitude in the company throughout that entire time was it got to the point after the Wizarding World was so successful that anything Disney did to add that brought more people to Orlando did trickle over into Universal. So the attitude of the company was let them continue bringing people to Orlando, because even if not every single one of those people come over to check out our resort, even if it's just 1 in 4, that's still 1 out of 4 people that they might not have gotten before.
When do you think they're going to announce the third gate?
It's coming. I think they're waiting for
Star
they're just
Wars to
waiting
open?
for the perfect time. I'm really not
They're
sure.
going
on that,
to.
but
My feeling is that either right before Galaxy's Edge opens or shortly after, that's when they're going to announce it.
And what is it going to be?
Before we even get there, I want to point out one issue when we're talking about immediately seeing the difference in numbers changing at Universal versus Disney. Disney is opening Galaxy's Edge just a week before Halloween Horror Nights starts at Universal Orlando, and that event is getting bigger and bigger every single year in terms of attendance, selling out more. Crowds are ridiculous. So I think that if we're seeing any real shift in audience, it's not going to happen until after Halloween Horror Nights is over, potentially not even until the beginning of January and the new year, because it's HHN is a juggernaut.
Well, as has been pointed out many times, that anything these guys do to battle each other, we
yeah.
are the ones who win.
Imagine what Nintendo's going to look like now.
Exactly. So lots of stuff coming. So, all right, that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to do it for our show. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back with you again next week with another edition of the Diz Unplugged. Have a great week, everyone. And remember, stay out of the damn lakes.